It's November 15th, 2017. Cartoon Network is hosting an Over the Garden Wall art show, a tribute show. But where is it? What art is on display? And why have you never seen or heard of this before today?
Are you ready? Let's begin.
What you're looking at right now is the opening shot of my favorite cartoon, Over the Garden Wall. A lot of other fans online have talked about the symbolism and themes of this show. The story I'm about to tell you will not be that, but you still need some context. Over the Garden Wall is a 2014 10-episode miniseries, the first of its kind, developed by Cartoon Network. It was created by Pat McHale and manifested with a rogues gallery of talented and hardworking artists that spanned many different fields and mediums. And the answer to our mystery lies with 4 of them. First up on our list is Chris Sergiotis. Here he is winning a well-deserved Emmy Award for his background layout designs on the show's pilot, Tome of the Unknown. It's October 2022 when I received an email from him about this. Now, why was Chris emailing me in the first place? Because I had bought one of these statues on eBay a few weeks before. See, I had previously purchased one of those really hard to find read and listen press kits that they made for the show's debut from the same seller who told me that they also had one of these frog statues. So I thought, maybe if they put it up for sale, I'll bid on it for a friend of mine who also likes the show. I can give it as a gift. And I did bid on it, and I won for about $72 US, plus shipping. A few weeks go by, it shows up at the front door, as packages tend to, and I start to look into the story behind it. And it turns out that Chris did a small pre-order run of these back in 2017 for fans of the show, and all said and done, about 72 were produced, which I had to do a double take because of the numbers. But before the pre-orders, on his Tumblr post, I saw this. He made this for the Over the Garden Wall art show. And like you, I had no idea what he was talking about, so I looked it up and found nothing. How could that be? So next I do some super deep Google sleuthing to find Nick Cross's Twitter account. He was the art director on the show. And a little ways down on his posts, I see this, a painting he did for the art show. So there were multiple pieces on display, but where was it? Why are there no photos of it or mention from Cartoon Network publicly? Then it hits me, the 2017 tribute concert. That has to be it. The blasting company who did the soundtrack for the show, they put on a show at Gallery Nucleus to promote the new art book that was being released that year for Over the Garden Wall. So I went back to the only video of the concert that this guy uploaded to YouTube. I'm so grateful to that guy. And I scrubbed through the background, the frames, trying to find any semblance of artwork and art show, and I didn't find anything. Then I saw later that Gallery Nucleus uploaded a whole photo album of the concert and book signing to their website, which I rifled through. Similarly, I didn't find any artwork in the background. But there's Pat McHale, there's Nick Cross, but who's that guy? A year goes by, and I've all but forgotten about this weird rabbit hole that I've dug myself in, to this mystery that, for all I know, no one else really cares to get to the bottom of. But then I remember this guy. This is Levon Jahanian, one of the background painters for the show, and I start to search through his social media, his Twitter, and I'm gifted this beautiful portrait of Jimmy, spoilers, that he did for the art show. So at this point, I'm done being passive with my searches. I reach out to the artists on Twitter with their works attached, and I ask them what they remember about the art show, if they have any photos, anything like that. And one person responds, and it's Levon. He said that Cartoon Network held these art shows at Cartoon Network Studio. And a blog that I later found mentions that these art shows were in an exhibit space adjacent to the lobby in the studio in Burbank, California. So we have a location, but still no photos or other artwork. About a month ago, I'm looking through the Tumblr account of Jim Campbell. He co-wrote and storyboarded a few episodes for the show, and he also worked on the comic books that they released after the show. And down from the depths, I see this scene. It's undoubtedly from his episode. So I emailed Jim and I asked him if he has any recollection of the art show, if he has any photos, anything he can provide. And that same day, he emails me back, and he wasn't there. He was working remotely at the time. He had to mail in his painting for the art show, but he might have a couple pictures that he was sent back at home. And then later that day, he emails me again with some attachments. So as far as I know, this is the first time anyone has seen an actual photograph of the Over the Garden Wall art show. You can see Jim Campbell's beautiful scene. We can see Levon's portrait. We can see a pencil drawing by Nick Cross that I had confirmed with him was the prototype for his painting that we saw. And to the carefully trained eye, a few watercolors by Jim Campbell that were used in the Over the Garden Wall Read and Listen press kit that I mentioned earlier. But there's another photo, and this one reveals to us what this whole event was for. It was a book signing inside Cartoon Network Studios. So because the art book was coming out that fall, the official release was at Gallery Nucleus, and the follow-up was at Cartoon Network Studio for the staff working there. So everyone got a free book, and they could have the opportunity to actually purchase some of the artwork that was made for this art show. But what happened to the frog statue? Because we saw this frog, this crocheted frog, in the art show, but we never found out what happened to the original that Chris made. And to answer that last question, we have to go back to the email he sent me a year ago. Chris told me that he did in fact 3D model, print, sand, and hand paint that frog statue for the art show. And it was on display there, where the then president of Cartoon Network at the time purchased it for the studio. They actually had it up in the studio lobby for a few years, Chris says. Then, one day, a suspiciously similar statue winds up on eBay. It doesn't have the base like the other ones, and it doesn't have the grooves on the back to help the painters who did the production run. And I bought it without even knowing. I tried to reach out to the seller to ask them how they came in possession of it, and it's been a year since I sent that message with no reply. Cartoon Network Studios closed its doors for the last time this August 1st, 2023, following mergers and restructuring. Former staff and alumni paid one final visit together to commemorate the end of this incredible era. Who knows what other art shows happened there that we'll never see, never hear about. We can only hope that the art sold there now rests in the hands of people who value, appreciate, and will take care of it. Beauty doesn't require a witness to exist, but I'll be damned if I sit by while this story of Over the Garden Wall's 2017 art show falls into the clouded annals of history, into the unknown. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Chris, Nick, Levon, and Pat for answering my lengthy emails and just putting up with my general fanboyism. It can be a lot sometimes. And to those who didn't reply, I totally get it. You're working artists. You don't owe me anything, which is why I have to give such a huge, huge thank you to Jim Campbell for really pulling this whole thing together for me. I credit this video to you, Jim. Thank you. Go watch the show, go support the artists where you can. I'll link them down below. Don't pay a crazy amount of money for the DVD on eBay. Don't pay a crazy amount of money for the vinyl on eBay. Wait for a repressing. And I'm sure that there will be some 10th anniversary thing next year. I've heard murmurs of it around the internet. And yeah, I just love this show. I love you guys, and have a great week. Thank you for your patience with me. Yeah, and I thought this would be a good autumn afternoon to record this.
I owe you all of my affection. I owe you all of my protection, and it's due